Which NFL teams that didn't make the playoffs a year ago will see themselves return to the playoffs in 2022? What's going on, bottom line viewers? It's Mitch here, back with another NFL video previewing the 5 new playoff teams for 2022. These are the 5 teams that I feel are most likely to be the new playoff teams this season. If that sounds good, don't forget to spike the like button and subscribe to the channel for more BLV just like this. If you enjoy my content and videos like this, please help me reach 40,000 subscribers before the 2022 NFL season, as that is my goal. So if you want to support me and the channel, make sure to subscribe. Also, jump in the comment section below and let me know which teams that didn't make the playoffs last year do you think will be new playoff teams for 2022. Now, let's give you my 5. Let's kick off the 5 new playoff teams for 2022 with perhaps the most obvious selection, the Los Angeles Chargers in the AFC West and of course the AFC. The LA Chargers I look at as a legitimate Super Bowl contender, not just a playoff contender in 2022. You begin with the coaching staff, a second season for Brandon Staley and the defense, to groom his defense, to build it up, and to showcase it with a bunch of new pieces. You have Khalil Mack rushing off the edge, got him from Chicago. You add a piece like Sebastian Joseph Day from his former defense of the Rams on top of Morgan Fox, who comes as well with familiarity to that defense. You add some big men into the inside of that defense on top of veterans like Kyle Van Noy, who can do a little bit of linebacker or a little bit of pass rusher, and you upgrade the secondary with a big name and a shutdown perimeter corner like JC Jackson. This defense has all the pieces, including Joey Bosa, Derwin James, to make life very difficult on a lot of opposing offenses, especially the top quarterbacks and passing attacks in the NFL, with a strong edge duo, the beef to slow down the running game in the middle of the defense, and a very deep corner and secondary group. So this defense is loaded now under Brandon Staley, and he can have the versatility to really do whatever he wants week to week and game plan to game plan. Offensively, we know how good this offense can be, but another season under Lombardi and this offensive scheme for Justin Herbert. Also, the receiving core, Mike Williams, Keenan Allen, Palmer develops into his second season, a 3rd-round pick from a year ago. You got guys like Jalen Guyton, who can stretch the field, Austin Eckler. They added Spiller to the backfield to complement Eckler, and you beef up the offensive line with a 1st-round pick to the interior offensive line, and Slater enters his 2nd year at left tackle. So overall, the Chargers as a roster, as a team, as a coaching staff, they just have very few holes. They are much more well-rounded this season. They actually appear to have a defense on paper, and of course have one of the most dynamic, excellent quarterbacks who is truly entering his prime in Justin Herbert and who can carry any football team. So the Chargers are instantly a not only playoff threat, but Super Bowl threat. The number 2 team that I believe is a new playoff team for 2022, the Indianapolis Colts. The Colts play in the weakest AFC division, the AFC South, and that aided the Tennessee Titans to become the number 1 seed throughout last regular season. I could see something very similar happening with the Indianapolis Colts. While the Tennessee Titans have sort of declined, losing guys like A.J. Brown to their offense, having holes on the offensive line, the question marks with Ryan Tannehill, Derrick Henry, and even though I believe in Mike Vrabel, his coaching, that style of play, and their defense still to be pretty strong, I don't see the Titans being able to replicate their success of the past couple of seasons, leaving the door open for the Indianapolis Colts in the AFC South to take this division. I also think it's pretty unlikely that the Colts are swept by the Titans this year as they were a year ago, mostly due to the fact that Carson Wentz was straight up a dummy. and I don't expect that from their new quarterback, Matt Ryan, who's a much more mature option at the position, a much more consistent passer, and overall quarterback. From the locker room to the huddle to the field, Matt Ryan will upgrade this team and this organization. I think Michael Pittman is in for a breakout season with Matt Ryan throwing him the football, and I wouldn't sleep on options like Alec Pierce from the draft, or maybe even Paris Campbell eventually once he hits the field to do some damage with Matt Ryan. The offensive line is still solid, maybe not dominant, but solid. And when you have Jonathan Taylor running the football, it opens up everything else. Frank Reich is a dynamic play caller and can give a lot of defenses and defensive coordinators issues from week to week. And with Matt Ryan's ability to drop back and pass, it will make them a much more balanced offense as a whole. Defensively, they were already strong in 2021, and I could see them being even better in 2022 thanks to some additions to help them in the passing game. Yannick Ngakoue on the edge, getting to the quarterback, complements what they already have in Kwity Paye and DeForest Buckner. On top of that, they have great depth on the defensive line and an improved secondary thanks to Stephon Gilmore on the perimeter of their corner position. The Indianapolis Colts are one of the best rosters in the NFL, one of the most balanced teams in the NFL, and they play a unique brand of football that is very well coached. I think the Colts will be a very nice choice to make the playoffs out of the AFC South this season. And my final option to make it out of the AFC as a new playoff team is the Baltimore Ravens out of the AFC North. Now, the Baltimore Ravens, they may not win the division, but they have a very good chance of sneaking up on the Cincinnati Bengals and taking the AFC North in 2022, thanks to, of course, a great coaching staff and the most electric quarterback in the game. Speaking of Lamar Jackson, I expect him to have a bounce back season this year because he's going to have a better team around him. The Baltimore Ravens will return to a power style of offense. They let go of Hollywood Brown with the intention of getting back to the 2019 style of offense. Run first, powered by a strong, powerful offensive line, and the dynamic Lamar Jackson who can run or can throw with the best of them. Mark Andrews is one of the best tight ends, if not the best tight end in football right now, which will power their passing game. Potentially a Rashad Bateman, I think a Rashad Bateman breakout will help Mark Andrews. And you got Lamar, you got J.K. Dobbins on top of Gus the Bus returning to the backfield. That is a really awesome trio of runners behind an improved offensive line of Morgan Moses at the right tackle, which the right tackle position was a real problem last year, their biggest weakness perhaps on their entire team. And Tyler Linderbaum, a real day one impact center out of the first round of the draft. Ronnie Stanley is back at left tackle, who I often forget about because he just hasn't played consistently for this team. But if he's on the field, he's one of the best left tackles in the game. And this is one of the best offensive lines in the game if everyone can stay healthy. The defense gets an upgrade in the secondary. The secondary was a big issue for them last year due to injuries to guys like Marcus Peters. Marcus Peters returns to complement Marlon Humphrey. And they also added Kyle Fuller to the corner position, who's a veteran of this game, who's experienced and will shine in this system opposite those two awesome corners. And then you have somebody like Kyle Hamilton coming from Notre Dame who could fit in as a nickel player or a strong safety or even a sub linebacker. Baltimore's very, very creative with how they assign these young defensive players. And I believe Hamilton will be one of their best options in years at this spot. On top of that, Marcus Williams is just a you know what you're getting, solid force in the back end at free safety, will not allow the big play, very smart playmaker at that free safety spot. This secondary is where they want it to be, which has always been the strength of this defense over the past decade or so. And up front, they're big, they're nasty. You expect younger players to develop like Jason Owe. So I see the Ravens as a very tough physical football team in 2022 that will be very difficult to beat, and I believe they will be a new playoff team. Now let's move to the NFC with one of the options to be a new playoff team in 2022. I love what the Minnesota Vikings offer in this conference, which I believe is up for grabs. This is not a very good NFC, especially the depth of the conference is not very enticing. I believe that the Vikings, with a new and improved coaching staff, I think Kevin O'Connell will give them a new energy to their offense, an offense that has a lot of potential to be unlocked. They have a youthful offensive line that's only growing. They also added a guard in the second round in Ingram, which will help them boost that offensive line and running game with Dalvin Cook, help protect Kirk Cousins, and I expect Cousins to really have an awesome year, throwing the ball to KJ Osborne, Adam Thielen, of course Justin Jefferson, and how Kevin O'Connell can move Justin Jefferson around like a Cooper Kupp from the Rams and make life very difficult on a defense. Irv Smith returns to the lineup at tight end. Don't sleep on him either. And Alexander Mattison is about as good as a backup running back gets. So this skill group is extremely dynamic, and given a more Ram influence to their passing game, I expect the points to definitely go up in 2022 for the Vikings. Defensively, I think they're much improved, especially in the secondary where they've struggled in recent years. They haven't been able to lock it down at corner. They add Andrew Booth, who I thought should have been a first round pick. They get him in the second. Lewis Seen from Georgia in the first round at safety to complement Harrison Smith. You brought back Patrick Peterson. You brought in Chandon Sullivan. You've got a lot to work with now and some depth with guys like Cameron Dantzler as well at the corner position. And up front, Zadarius Smith is the best complement to Danielle Hunter since somebody like Everson Griffin, guys like Harrison Phillips to stop the run, and Jordan Hicks at linebacker. Just great additions across the board at every level. I think Ed Donatel as well will bring something fresh to this defense scheme-wise in more of a Vic Fangio lane. So the Vikings are going to give a lot of teams issues because they can run on you, they can pass on you, and their defense is going to be much, much better. I think the Vikings are a playoff team and a sneaky threat in the NFC. And the final team that I believe could be a new playoff team in 2022 out of the NFC is the New Orleans Saints. They were very close to making it a year ago. I believe they were the 8th seed in the NFC, and that was despite not really having consistent quarterback play. They had guys like Trevor Siemian and Taysom Hill taking over for Jameis Winston. Taysom Hill is now playing tight end, which will be fun to watch. Sean Payton is gone, which will definitely hurt the offense, but what will help the offense is improved weaponry and hopefully consistency at that quarterback position. If Jameis can remain healthy, even if he doesn't, I think Andy Dalton's a better option than somebody like Trevor Siemian from a year ago. So either way, I think the quarterback position's in better shape. The receiving core, Michael Thomas should be back and as good as ever. Chris Olave in the first round, while I'm not the biggest fan, will definitely be better than the options they had a year ago. And Jarvis Landry, even though I think he's a little bit over the hill, is a nice number 3 option. So the passing game will be much better and more dynamic due to the options. Jameis Winston back, and Alvin Kamara is as good as he's ever been. The defense is arguably the best in football. I love the strength of the secondary. Tyrann Mathieu in combination with Marcus May and Marshawn Lattimore. This is a deep corner group, a deep safety group. They added some pieces through the draft there as well. The front is extremely tough against the run, and they're very, very creative with how they attack opposing offenses due to their new head coach, Dennis Allen. So I think the Saints are just one of the best NFC rosters from top to bottom, and even though they don't have a dynamic quarterback, I think as long as they have their starter, they should be able to find their way back to the playoffs in 2022 after missing in the first season without Drew Brees in 2021. Those are my new playoff teams for 2022. Let me know yours in the comment section below. And do you have more than 5? You might have more than 5. There were some good options that I left off the list. My honorable mention would be the Denver Broncos. Let me know your options in the comment section below. It's Mitch. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed, Gronk, spike the like button and subscribe for more. Peace.